Hi, this is Cindy Pope. I'm happy to be here at the Cool Tools studio to talk to you about the Curio. I'm a Curio teacher in metal clay and leather, and I started out as a metal clay artist, and I've found that I can do wonderful things with some of Cool Tools clays that are flexible, Easy 960 and FS 999. I teach all over the country, and I just love sharing my passion for this machine with you so you can use it in parts of your pieces or make a complete piece out of it. And I'm going to show you how to do that. The first thing I want to show you is the kind of things you can make with the Curio before I show you how it works. My favorite thing is custom bezels, and these are made with FS 999, and you can highlight your piece with something even fancier than gallery wire. You can also, with the Curio, make a very unique back and bail. And all these pieces, this one has a double bezel. And this one is actually a prong setting. This prong setting is made with Easy 960. I recommend Easy 960 for prongs because it's stronger. And I also have highlighted the pattern on the back and carried it over to the bail. But this is not the only thing you can do. It's one of my favorites. I'm going to show you a few other things. One of my favorite new things that I'm working on with Pam East is enameling pieces using the Curio. We are creating enameling chambers, and these chambers are made with 9 or 10 card clay, so you're not layering things up, you're not filing edges down, and it's a wonderful process, and I hope in the future to teach you about it. And I'm excited personally to learn to enamel. I'm going to show you how to make this fold-over ring without the Curio, but I wanted to show you that you can totally make it with the Curio and add a really interesting embellished design. I wanted to show you a 3D look you can get without bending, and this is layering up 3 pieces, and I wanted to show you the kind of detail you can get in cutting. In particular with FS 999 and Easy 960 because they cut like a dream. And one of the other things you can do that is 3D is a rolled bead. And this rolled bead is made etching the Curio, etching the clay flat and then curving it over a form. You can also do earrings with the Curio, and this is an example of one in Hadar's One Fire Flex Brilliant Bronze, which is beautiful. And you can see I can get movement because of the flexibility of the clay. This one's made in fine silver. And this third one is a tutorial I'm going to show you how to make these fold-over earrings. We're going to do them with a little teeny tiny bling, which is a 3mm CZ that's a faceted cab. They're beautiful and just adds a little extra to the clay. And this is an easy project to design and to construct. And I wanted to point out that I also made these stands in acrylic using my Curio, and I matched them up to the design on my cards, and I'm thrilled with them, and they're great for shows and for displaying your jewelry. The other thing, you're not limited to metal clay or acrylic. You can also use leather, and my favorite thing about leather is it's very versatile and it combines beautifully with metal clay. And this particular one, I designed the whole thing. I put a quote on the back, and it's got little traveler's journals inside, which can be transferred out as they're full. With this one, I've actually added my metal clay pieces to it, so I've made the buttons out of metal clay. And as soon as I added those, it really added something because I have my own little simple design. I make a lot of cuffs. The cuffs can be plain in leather, or they can be adding little bronze embellishments and silver embellishments. The one I have on is using one of those faceted cab CZs, and this is Easy 960 because I wanted the strength of that. And the last but not least, you can etch with Faux Bone. Faux Bone is offered in the Cool Tools store, and it etches beautifully, and you can cover up with Ranger alcohol inks, which they also carry. And it's a wonderful product if you haven't tried it. It's a thermoplastic that I etch flat, I heat it up, and then I bend it into a cuff form. Hi, this is Cindy Pope. I'm here to introduce you to the Cool Tools Curio kit, and I'm going to show you everything that's in the kit, and then I'm going to show you a little bit about how the machine works. So in the kit, you can purchase it with FS999 and EZ960 25-gram packages, or without if you already have some. We have, Cool Tools has developed a new rolling frame for the Curio, and it's going to come up to 5 cards. These are the template prototypes. And what it's going to do is it's going to help you roll perfectly even clay. They're also producing a really nice silicone mat. And the nice thing about this is, you'll see in the rolling video, we'll roll the clay, we'll put it in the heating surface. You won't ever have to move it off of this. It's also heals a little bit better than Teflon. And then they're also going to have an 8x8-ish tile that is available. You'll need a rolling roller, which you'll see in the earring video where we'll be actually making the earrings. This is a really nice little brush to brush off the dust from your etching. The kit's going to include one. If you do base metals, I would get a second one for bronze. You'll need a tissue blade, which will come with it. I recommend having more than one tissue blade though, because if they get lost, it's hard to remove your clay. So the Curio comes with 2 paper embossing tools, which I do use on leather, but I don't use them on metal clay. It comes with a blade, and the blade can be adjusted based on how thick your metal clay is. And I've recommended that they include in the kit 2 extra blades. Reason being, I do my paper project planning with 1 blade, but paper tends to dull the blade. And then I use 1 for silver and 1 for base metal, and I always recommended having multiple blades. What we do use to etch on the Curio is the Amy Chomas tools. These are carbide steel. They're really beautifully tooled pieces, and there's 3 of them. And this one has a lid because it's very sharp. There's a blunt etcher, a engraving tool, and then there is the new sharp etcher. And we'll mostly be using this one, but when we do the enameling chambers, we're going to be using both of these. And for text, the sharp etcher is really nice. So those will come with your kit. The kit comes with protective film. It's what I recommend with metal clay because contact paper will sometimes cause your clay to move around. It won't stick as well, and this is a really nice product that I find works well with almost every material. Cool Tools has a nonstick roller, and the one I use is no longer made, so I was very excited to see, and this is a great roller because it has an opening you can store your tools with, so very good for travel. I've also recommended that they provide 2 extra mats. You do go through mats when you're using the Curio, and you want to always have a backup in stock in case you accidentally cut through yours. And I usually have 5 or 6 in stock, so if you want to order a couple extra, that's fine. And all these products are also going to be available for purchase separately. So you can purchase a kit if you're just getting started, or you can get some of the pieces if you want to upgrade what you currently have. I'm going to show you a little bit about the machine. Let me move the kit aside. This machine is what's called a die cutting machine. And old school die cutting machines had little cartridges that you put in. But this one is run by a very sophisticated software called the Silhouette Design software. And you can make your own designs, and we're going to plug it into my computer and it'll tell it what to cut and where to cut. But let me show you what it comes with. This comes with a hard loading platform, and that's one of the reasons we like this machine better than some of the other Silhouette machines, because this is really great for metal clay. We get a very consistent product, a consistent cut, because of this hard surface. And those of you that have a Cameo know it has kind of a floppy mat. It also always loads in the same place, so it's much easier to use than the Cameo with metal clay. And it comes with a protective sheet. And when you first get it, it's very, very sticky. I recommend you de-stickify it by pressing it against your clothes or a dish towel or something that has a little bit of lint, because the first couple times you use it, it's a little hard to get the clay off of it. Wanaree Tanner uses her jeans, and she is the inventor of this whole process. It comes with a bunch of platforms. We are going to use all these platforms for the most part with metal clay. When you get to up to about 5 or 6 cards, which is usually what we're etching, but when we get to doing enameling chambers, we're going to go much higher to 9 cards. But for the most part, you're going to be using all of them. They clip very nicely into the machine. And the mat goes on top. So if you were doing the thicker piece, you would just remove one of these. And these are each 1 millimeter, and then there's 2 2-millimeter ones. And it loads nicely into the machine. I always load it gently. And we're going to load it as soon as we plug it into the computer. It also comes with this embossing mat. I don't use this embossing mat. Some people do use it for acrylic. So put it aside, we may find a use for it at some point. So let me show you how to start this. I'm going to turn the controls towards you. There are 2 plugs and 3 controls. The first plug is a power cord. We're going to just plug it into the power cord. The second plug is a USB cable. So this is what plugs into your computer. One's square and one's round. So I just plug it in, and then I'm going to plug it into the USB port on my computer. And then I'm going to turn it on, and when you turn it on, it automatically loads this platform, but there's also a load unload button and a pause button. And the pause button, if you ever feel like something's going wrong, this is my emergency stop button. And you can pause, take a look, get it, if your clay is coming up or something's happening, you can adjust it. You can even unload the platform and adjust it, and then you can resume. So I'm going to show you how to load the platform. The platform has a little notch right here on the right-hand side, and this notch needs to be pushed past the first wheel. And then you hit the on button or the load unload button, and this machine always adjusts exactly to the right place. So you have no problems with trying to figure out where the mat's going to hit. And I'm going to show you how the blades load. The black blades, which are what I prefer, load with the fin forward. If you do it backwards, you'll have some issues. One of the first mistakes I made. You also can adjust the blade using this. I want to tell you, I don't want you to push down. I want you to support it. I think these are delicate mechanisms, so I don't want to push down when I adjust the blade. I'm going to adjust the blade to 6, which is what I'm going to be using for the bezels. And you put it in with the fin facing forward, and then you lock it all the way to the right. It feels like it's locked about here, but you need to go all the way to the right. Otherwise, you will have some issues. I always put my blade in the left-hand holder, and I'm going to take the engraving tool and put it in the right-hand holder. This one also needs to go all the way down to where it rests on the ledge. And they're ready to go. If I would want to unload at this point, I would hit the unload button because right now it's locked into place. If I hit the load unload button, it releases the wheel mechanism and you can pull it out. And then push it back in. And that's how it works. So I'm going to show you in a little video next exactly how to set your preferences in the software, how to download the software, and how to put in the user-defined settings for metal clay. Hi, this is Cindy Pope. I want to talk to you a little bit about the software that runs the Curio. It's a silhouette software and it's free, and there's an upgrade to the designer version, which we recommend for all the designing you do. So let me first show you where to get this software. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the internet and we're going to go to Silhouette America. And when you go to Silhouette America, there's a button that says Update Software. You choose the current version or the beta version and choose it for Mac or Windows and download it and install it. Once you've installed it, you'll be able to get with a little upgrade code from Cool Tools, and Cool Tools will send you a code and you will put it into the software, and then you'll be able to use all the designer version things. That will be right here under Help, Upgrade to Silhouette Studio. I currently have the highest version, so that I don't have any more upgrades, but you'll put the code in right there. So let me show you a little bit about the software. There are drawing tools down the left-hand side, and the right-hand side is designing tools. And up at the top are lots of helpful things to zoom in and zoom out. And but a very neat thing that they've done with the newest version is if you select a shape, up at the top are all kinds of things that they think you might like to do with that shape. You might want to duplicate it, you might want to group it with something else, you might want to change the size. So that's a really helpful little command bar. But if you want to use certain design tools pretty much in a row, and there is a methodology to my designing, what you can do is you can build yourself a menu, and I think this is a great way to start. So I'm going to open the fill panel, and then I'm going to pull it away from the side, and then I'm going to open the replicate window, and I'm going to pull it away, and then I'm going to click it onto the bottom. So what I can do is I can, instead of hunting for icons, I can set up all the ones I think I might want to use and have them all ready to design. And it saves you a lot of time, and it's really good until you get used to all the icons. So let me show you about the different tabs. The first tab is the Design tab, which is where we're at. The second tab is the Store, where you can buy digital images. The third is the Library, and you can save your images to the library, but I recommend saving them to the hard drive for your designs. And if you have something you'll use over and over again, like a pattern, save it to the library. The last one is Send, and that's where we're going to enter the user-defined settings. So we design first, and we're ready to send, we go to a new tab. So let me show you a little bit about the preferences first, and then I'll show you the user-defined settings, which are special settings that I have made for metal clay use. So let's go to the settings sprocket. It's right down here on the right-hand side, and I've given you a PDF of this also to help. And I'm going to show you the settings you want to have. I always save to the hard drive. If something were to happen, it's always nice to have it. If you are doing any photopolymer plates with the images, you can change the resolution of your printing, which is really, really nice. I always say I want to show the dimensions, and the measurements, I actually go back and forth between millimeters and inches. I usually design in inches, but if I'm using stones or it's a tight measurement, I'll switch to millimeters. So you can go back and forth. So that's everything on the General tab. Under Defaults, you always want to change the blade type to ratchet blade. You want to show the center of rotation, and you want to use the flexible panel mode, and you always want to do not auto-release connections. Under Display, there's really nothing you have to change, but you can change the theme. So if you're having a hard time seeing it, you can choose a black and white theme, you could choose a gray theme. So it really helps to change those around to see what works for you. And I like to increase the button size. If you're having a hard time seeing the icons, it really, really helps. The animation I put in the middle, and the curve quality I put in the middle. Import, I do not change any of these. But on tools, I definitely do change. All these first ones, they default to continue drawing shapes, which is very annoying. Sometimes you want to draw a shape and then you want to go on to something else. So I choose select for every single one of these. For selection tools, I'm going to say select shapes touching the drag box. And when many shapes are selected, I'm going to say single bounding box. I don't want to see the measurements of every shape. I just want to see the measurements of the whole group together. And I don't change any of the other ones. For updates, I like to see the updates weekly, but I like to not do them here, but I download the software from the Silhouette America website. And I also will look and see if, ask online if it's a good update. And usually they are, but occasionally there's a bug or two, and I will tell people to hold off on installing. The most important change you need to make, if you don't do any others, is you need to go and uncheck include cut data. It saves a lot of data that you don't really need, and it slows down the computer a whole lot. So always uncheck that box, and then you'll hit apply, and then you'll choose OK. And an important thing to do at this point is to save this file. So we're going to choose File, Save. I'm going to save to the hard drive, and then I'm going to close down the software and reopen it. That is going to set those preferences in stone in a special file they have. If you were to crash after having done it, they may not save, and I've had that happen, so be sure to do that. We're going to do exactly the same thing when we enter user-defined settings, which we're going to do right now. Okay, I'm going to talk to you a little about user-defined settings, which are settings that tell the machine exactly what to do with your metal clay, how hard to press, how quickly to move. And so I've given you a PDF that's going to have them all listed, but I've actually loaded this little visual into the Silhouette software so we could talk a little bit about it. First of all, my titles are in two different colors. If it's a cut setting, it's in red. If it's an etch setting, it's in blue, which is the colors I actually use for those two things. They also have a number after them. If it's cut, it's the number that you need to turn your blade to cut for that particular material. And if it's an etch, it's how much pressure you want to use. And we always start out with light pressure because we don't want to etch all the way through the clay. The next thing after the titles are the type of action. So cutting would be a cut action, and etching would be an etch action. It's really important never to cut when you're trying to etch because it moves differently and it's a little more jagged and it doesn't give you a nice clean etch. The next thing are the settings that you actually put in. So for a cut, we're going to choose the ratchet blade and we're going to put a blade setting of 4. This is for notation purposes only, so you actually have to go change the blade. The speed is how fast it's going to go. We like to go pretty fast for cutting, and it does move quickly, so we're going to set that at 8. And the force setting is how much force we want the blade to push down with. And I'm going to use a force of about 25. With the Cameo and the Portrait, we use a much higher force, but this machine is a lot more efficient, so we can use a little bit less force. And we go 2 passes when we're cutting, for the most part. Unless you're doing a paper type or a bezel, and then we're just going to go 1 pass. And then for etching, we're not going to have any setting for the blade because there is no blade setting. It's just an etcher, and the etcher is a certain depth, and that's it. So we just have to put in the speed, and I like to go really fast for etching because a lot of times I do very complicated etchings, and it takes a little bit of time. So I'm going to use 9. And the force setting that I start with is always 1, but you'll see in the little PDF I gave you, we go all the way to 33. We always start at 1 because we don't want to etch through the clay, and we only do 1 pass because after we etch, you'll see in the videos for the projects, we brush it off and we take a look and say, do I want to etch again to go a little bit deeper? So that's the general overview, and let's go over to the Send tab and I'll show you actually how to enter these. Okay, now we're going to move over to the Send tab. I'm going to show you how to enter user-defined settings. It always defaults on the Simple tab, and there's actually Simple, Line, Fill, and Layer. We're always going to be using line color. Simple's a holdover from a few versions ago for those that didn't want to change. And you know that I color code everything. Red is cut and blue is etched. So what we're going to do immediately when we get to that new line color tab is we're going to change to the right-hand holder, which is a little blue dot there, and we're going to change that for every color that's going to be an etch color. And the blade will be in the left-hand holder and the etcher will be in the right-hand holder. And then we're going to go to these little 3 dots and we're going to enter these new user-defined settings. We're going to hit the plus button. When we hit the plus button, we're going to type in that title. So we're going to type in cut 1 card clay 4/5, which means the blade can be at 4 or 5. And then we're going to go down and we're going to change these settings. We're going to change the notation for blade to 4 or 5. We're going to change the speed to 8, and cutting goes pretty quickly. And we're going to change the pressure to 25. This is the pressure we use for the Curio. For the Cameo and Portrait, we're going to use a higher pressure. This machine's more efficient. And then I always use 2 passes for cutting, unless I'm doing a really detailed internal cut where I'll up the blade a little bit and put the pass to 1. But for the most part, we're going to be using 2. And then as soon as it's done, I'm going to hit Enter and save. Then I'm going to hit the plus key again because now we're going to enter an etch setting. We're going to type in Etch 1. And the first thing I'm going to do is go and hit the plus key because I want to change this to an Etch Action. So I'm going to choose an Etch Action. I'm going to put in all my settings. So the speed will be 9 because sometimes we do complicated etchings. They take a long time, so we want it to go as quickly as possible. The pressure is 1, and that's the lowest pressure. You'll see from the PDF, we'll be entering them all the way up to 33, but a pressure of 1 is the lightest, and we always want to start lightly because we don't want to etch through the clay. So we're going to after that, we're going to go to the cut setting and actually delete the cut setting. You don't ever want to have a cut setting available for this user-defined setting because I don't want to accidentally choose it. So you just click on it and say Remove Action. As soon as we're done with that, we're going to go up to the little save next to where we entered the title. And then we're going to save this, and then I'm going to show you how to use it. So once we've saved, we're going to X out of this little area, which is the entering user-defined settings area. We're going to go back to our line color tab. We're going to uncheck the no color tab. And then I'm going to choose one of these colors, and I'm going to be on the red color. And there's a little drop-down menu to the right. I'm going to choose blue. Drop-down menu to the right. And I'm going to click on that. And all the way down at the bottom will be the ones I just entered. So I'm going to choose Etch 1. I will tell you once you save and go back in, these will be alphabetized. But for right now, when you first enter them, they'll be right there. So I'm going to choose Etch 1. And that'll pop up next to the blue color. And then we can go down below and just double check all our settings. I always recommend double checking, especially when you've just entered them because you can always make a mistake entering. And then I'm going to go to the next line, which is the red line. And I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. And I'm going to see that cut 1 card clay. I'm going to choose it. And then I'm going to go down and just review what I've done. And then we're ready to go. And usually I'll etch first and I will not cut until I'm done etching because I assess the etching every time. So best of luck and enjoy. I hope you give it a try and enjoy using the Curio.
Visit our Learning Center at cooltools.us for more cool jewelry making videos. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and be sure to sign up for our email list to be the first to hear about new videos, new products, and other cool stuff from Cool Tools.